Well, Aindra was challenging their authority totally. I mean, he would lecture in his room to a group of people. People would come from Ukraine, Russia, different places, and they would go up to his room after the kirtan, and he would tell them, these people are just becoming gurus because they want a suitcase full of money that they can take to the Cayman Islands. I heard him say that. So he was very critical of them.
We will have the rest of eternity to collect the thousands and millions of disciples if that's what Krishna wants. Not that we push the panic button, childishly play makeshift lifeguard guru, jumping into the ocean of material existence to save, in quotes, the drowning, in quotes, souls, become overwhelmed by the tidal wave of Maya, and heroically get ourselves drowned in the process.
He was against their guru voting system. He says this guru voting is some ecclesiastical. He had big words for all this stuff, but he called them corporate figureheads and all kinds of things.
There really can be no feasible makeshift or stopgap blind Uncle Vicar. Disciplic succession means from acharya to acharya or acharyas, not from acharya to umpteen gazillion blockheads who, being too spiritually gutless to grasp the recognized esoteric method of unalloyed devotional realization, prefer to parade about, presumably on the plea of para upakara, preaching any retarded, shabby, so-called philosophy that blunderbusses out from their internally bankrupt, institutionally bamboozled, busybodying brainlessness. Just as the series of crystal clear lenses of a telescope brings a distant image within the purview of our eyes, in the same way, a sampradaya's transcendental heritage is brought into the scope of our understanding through a transparent medium, a chain of pure and spiritually potent representatives of the acarya-parampara. Dusty, foggy, flawed, warped, or impotent lenses will not do. A chain of lenses is as clear and reliable as its faultiest lens. The role of sampradayic acharya is not a matter of institutional rubber stamping. There's no question of institutional rubber stamping. The rubber stamping of gurus is in fact quite against the principles of sampradaya. It indicates neither purity nor high caliber Krishna consciousness. There actually has to be purity. And where there is purity coupled with realized siddhanta-based rag-maya, unalloyed devotional expression, rubber stamping or no rubber stamping, there we may hope to see the actual current of the sampradaya. The institutional rubber stamping of guru, as well as the recurrently observed herding of unsuspecting fledgling devotional candidates into institutionally endorsed liaison with chic awash, locally lionized, ecclesiastically rubber-stamped guru figureheads, simply boasts of a preposterous, overestimated shot at managerially manipulating, governing, or meddling with the entirely independent will of the Absolute. Higher than becoming guru is to become an accomplished, fully self-realized disciple, and that hardly implies that one should pompously pose as a king with no clothes to passionately impress the little neophytes with how much one might have superficially garnered from the lines of letters on the pages of piles of books. Nowhere is it mentioned in any shastra that neophytes and intermediate devotees achieve prema by initiating hundreds and thousands of disciples. It is really best not to accept any disciples at all. I repeat, this is Srila Prabhupada's instruction from a purport of Chaitanya Charitamrita. It is really best not to accept any disciples at all. We must always remember, it is not that authority constitutes truth. Truth constitutes authority. That is Guru Parampara. Diplomatic affairs tend to dismantle Brahminical culture. They who prefer to bend, water down, compromise, or obscure the truth to suit various inveigling materially conceived managerial agenda on the plea of propagating the Krishna consciousness movement are not truthful Brahmins. Then what to speak of being Paramahansa Vaishnavas? It would serve us well to remember that our beloved Guru Maharaj, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, after having spent 9 preparatory years in Vrindavan, went out to benefit the people of the Western world as a fully self-realized spiritual master, not as a fake-it-till-you-make-it, relatively unimpressive, struggling, neophytic, superficially polished cyber preacher, having little, if any, actual cognition by way of divine revelation as to the details regarding his highest potential Braja Sarup.
But I saw a video of him, and he was, I don't know, it was a festival, a Prabhupada festival of some sort, and he was just talking in a microphone, but he wasn't saying anything controversial, but Gopal Krishna was grabbing the microphone. Gopal Krishna just went up and started pulling the microphone and trying to take it out of his hands. And he says, "Wait a minute, Maharaj, I'll be done in a minute." I mean, you know, they didn't like him. It's pretty obvious. I have some friends who claim that they know that the GBC were having a meeting and they were discussing getting rid of Aindra just a couple days before he died. And Aindra himself wrote in his own book, he said, if my book is published, I will be burned at the stake. Therefore, I don't want to publish my book while I'm alive. He says, my book has to be published posthumously when I'm not here, because if it is published while I'm alive, I will be burned at the stake. And it's amazing, he was burned. It's like he had a premonition. This is exactly what will happen to me. I will be burned at the stake, and he was.
But then I ran into the Bhagavad Gita cards. And I'd done it a few times with different questions just for fun. And I was pretty impressed that there's something to it. Krishna's the director of all. So then I decided that, what about my book? You know, what am I going to do? What about my book? So then I chanted Prabhupada's Pranam Mantra, and I was like cutting the deck, and I was chanting Panchatattva Maha Mantra and cutting the deck, and then I chanted 3 times the Maha Mantra. Then I decided, okay, I'll take the top card. Whichever card comes on top, that'll be the one Krishna wants me to see. So I take the card and, there was a picture of Hanuman, and he was ripping open his heart and showing Sitaram, and it was written, simplicity. And I said, what? But then I opened the little booklet. I was amazed. And I don't know if I can remember it. I think it was chapter 13, verse number 12, the purport. And Prabhupada defines what is simplicity. He says, simplicity means that one should, without diplomacy, be so straightforward that he can disclose the truth even to an enemy. I was amazed. It was just confirmation that, you know, maybe in spite of everything, in spite of all the repercussions, maybe I'm on the right track. Maybe that's what Krishna wants me to do.
Then no wonder devotees are leaving, you know, and going hither and thither to look for the higher taste, because they're not getting the higher taste. Revolution means revolution. It means we have to shed pounds and gallons of blood to get the job done. We have to turn this movement inside out, upside down, whatever we have to do. Those who have understood this are awake to the need of the hour, and those who have not understood it are still sleeping. It's time to wake up.
Right, they were going to evict him. Radhanath was part of that. Gopal Krishna was part of that. Radhanath and Gopal Krishna worked very closely together. I mean, they were together. They buried Kirtananda in a samadhi in Vrindavan. Both of them were there. So they're like peas in a pod. Aindra also didn't make himself very popular with the GBC and the leaders of ISKCON because he was criticizing the policy of visiting the Babajis in Vrindavan, the Radhakund Babajis. So he got into a big argument with Mahanidhi Swami, and he disagreed with Indrajumna Swami and other big leaders who were all going at one time to different Radhakund Babajis, and they were going to Narayan Maharaj, things like that. He wasn't at all enthusiastic about that. He thought that these people were outside influences and they were not helping ISKCON, and he was right.